Hello and welcome back to the Watford Way. Today we are talking about Watford nil, Brighton 2. Yes, we are talking about yet another Watford home defeat, but do not worry because James has got his fresh trim. What do you think? Lovely, lovely, lovely new haircut from me. Really, really happy with that. But let's talk about the game seriously. It was absolutely crap. Really, really disgraceful. Actually, I personally think Roy Hodgson should be taking a lot of the blame for that result. He had, almost a fully fit squad available to him at his disposal. And I've got the team in front of me here. I mean, look at the midfield. I mean, it's absolutely disgraceful the way we set up at home against Brighton. I've got to say, this is Brighton. This isn't Manchester City. This isn't Liverpool. This isn't Chelsea. This isn't Arsenal. This is Brighton, okay? And they've got Tom Cleverley, Kayembe, Sissoko, Kuchka, all in a midfield four, which is just so negative. Like already from the very, very start of the game, Roy Hodgson is setting up in such a negative way, and I think that hindered us from the first minute. Really, I mean, the first 12 minutes of the game, Brighton had something like 78% possession, which is atrocious. Watford are playing like, we're playing like a championship team coming up against, the biggest team in the world. And, we're meant to be competing with Brighton in the Premier League. It's just, I don't really have the words to convey how angry I was at Roy, to be honest. And he come out after the game. He made his comments saying, Watford played actually too attacking for his liking. And what I would say to that is, Roy Hodgson, needs to go to Specsavers. I think that he is deluded if he thinks we played too attacking yesterday. If anything, we played, way too defensively, and we didn't give the game, enough of a go. Every game now is a must-win game. We have to go into every game, regardless of the opposition, wanting to win the game. What I would say is, I don't mind necessarily setting up the way we did yesterday away from home. I thought against Burnley, largely it worked. West Ham, it worked until the deflected goal. But when I'm at home and when I'm paying to watch my team play, and there's 22,000 other Watford fans there, and we've got Ismaila Sarr, João Pedro, Cucho on the bench, I expect our best attacking players to play in the positions that they're good in, right? And having Emmanuel Dennis and Joshua King up front, it didn't work yesterday. Tom Cleverley, Kayembe, Sissoko, Kuchka doesn't offer any creativity from midfield whatsoever. Defensively, I thought we looked okay. Considering Brighton had 80% possession at times, it was crazy. It's a crazy way to set up, and Roy obviously set up not to lose, but he does also have to try and win these football matches. When he was at Crystal Palace, it was very, very similar. He set up really negatively. He relied heavily on Wilfried Zaha to add some creativity, add some spark. Ismaila Sarr was on the bench. Ismaila Sarr, if he's available to play and is fit and ready to play, he should not be starting on the bench. He's a Champions League level player. This is someone who we brought in a couple of years ago for a high price tag. We know what he can do. He's arguably the best player in the bottom 5-6 teams in this division. And he was on the bench alongside João Pedro, who is really, really promising, alongside Cucho Hernandez, who can make an impact. And instead, we played Tom Cleverley out on the left. We played Kuchka out on the right wing. And, Roy Hodgson's expecting us to win the game with that setup. It just doesn't make much sense to me whatsoever. And I'm just very, very angry, very annoyed. I'm just really not happy with the way Roy Hodgson set up in that game. It was really negative. And ultimately, if we continue to play like we did yesterday, we will get relegated. I think that's obvious for everyone to see. And to be honest, I'm just going to football now to get out of the house, to have a nice day out. I'm not going to watch my football team play well. I think we're way past that. I think we just have to, get to the end of the season, enjoy what's left of this Premier League season, and ultimately have a humongous rebuild in the summer from top. And I'm talking about the very, very top of the club to bottom, and of course that means players and staff and whatever else that may be. So I think there's a lot to discuss. Let me know your thoughts on the game, of course, in the comments as well. Be interested to get your thoughts on how Watford played. I'm just not happy. I do have to say, as I said, a couple of minutes ago, I think Roy Hodgson has to take a lot of stick for yesterday's result. The way he set up, I'm sorry, I keep repeating myself, but I think it has to be said. The way he set up was absolutely disgraceful. It was absolutely, it was awful. Honestly, it was honestly one of the worst. Attacking performances I've ever seen from a Watford side in terms of my time supporting Watford. I'd much rather go and watch Sam Allardyce than what I watched yesterday. It was honestly that bad. Looking at the goals and talking about the first goal, Neal Maupay, great finish on the half volley, really good finish. Tariq Lamptey causing us all sorts of problems. He's a fantastic right back. Although Lamptey, to be honest, he had so much space. He didn't really play as a right back yesterday. He played as almost a right winger. He was that fantastic. And I just think the goal, again, poor defending. I think Craig Cathcart and Samir, really lost their man in that situation. Maupay is a decent level Premier League striker. And ultimately, we're in the Premier League. Brighton are not the best side. They're not the worst side. They're just an average, mid-table Premier League side. And we let them play like that. They were Manchester City yesterday. Good finish by Maupay. Ben Foster, I'm not blaming Ben Foster for that goal at all. He couldn't really get anywhere near it, to be honest. The second goal as well, just a scrappy goal. Our defenders couldn't clear the ball, and I think it was their centre back, wasn't it, who tapped it in the end. And that just summed up our day, really. Everyone got out of their seats, and it's a mass exodus out of the stadium at that point when the second goal went in. And to be honest, I don't think it's going to work for Roy Hodgson. If Roy Hodgson sets up the way he did yesterday against Aston Villa, if he sets up that way, against Arsenal at home, against Everton at home, these upcoming games, I think we're going to lose because straight away you're setting the standard really when you put a lineup out like that. This is absolutely atrocious. Let's take a few of your comments before we continue to talk, of course, about Watford. VJ says back to the drawing board. Andrew says it got better in the second half, but that doesn't matter. We still lost. I think it's too little too late. I agree with the substitutions Roy made at half-time. I think that Loser added a lot of creativity into that midfield. I think Loser really is a must-start for every game going forward. I think he adds so much creativity, so much going forward. His tackling, his tenacity is what Tom Cleverley was when Tom Cleverley was younger. I think Loser is absolutely fantastic. So I think going forward, Loser does have to start in that midfield. It was just very poor. Ismail Assar, of course, come on at half-time as well. And that was really good to see. And you could see instantly, as soon as Ismail Assar come on the pitch, he made such a massive impact. Just the crowd, the atmosphere suddenly got a little bit louder. The players on the pitch had a bit more energy because they know Ismail Assar is, as I said earlier, he's a Champions League level player. He's absolutely superb. Yes, Ismail Assar yesterday, he lost the ball a couple of times. He made some mistakes, but that's what you have to accept with Sarr. He drives forward, he gives the ball away. But ultimately, on his day, he can be the best player on the pitch. So Ismail Assar has to start the next game. Imran Loser has to start the next game. João Pedro has to start the next game ahead of probably Joshua King. We've got so many attacking players at the club, and Roy Hodgson is setting up like that. I cannot believe it. I honestly cannot believe. I cannot believe the way we set up, to be honest. Adam agrees with me here. Pedro has to start. So does Loser. I absolutely agree. Max, I actually thought about the same thing. Actually, Boreham Wood obviously having a fantastic FA Cup campaign this year. And to be honest, I think there'll be a lot of people with that same mindset where we're just losing faith with the whole club now, really. The hierarchy don't communicate with the fans whatsoever. The players, I think only one player come out to apologise about the result yesterday, which is so poor considering, people spend a lot of money and spend a lot of time going to watch Watford and going to watch football, and only one player can apologise to the fans. I think that I think Roy Hodgson's gonna have to have a word with the players there, because I just think it's really, really poor. And I'm here today. I'm not really, I'm not really making any sense in what I'm saying. I'm just angry, like the rest of you are. Really, I'm just angry at the way the club's gone. Ever since the FA Cup final, I think that was obviously the peak of Watford. That was fantastic under Javi Gracia. That to me showed how good this club can be when it chooses to be. But various decisions made by the hierarchy, various decisions made by the managers has ultimately caused Watford to, go in a downward spiral to where we are now. And ultimately it's looking like it will be 2 relegations in what, 3 years. I mean, that's really, really poor. And ultimately, we have the players, we have the squad to bounce back straight away next season from the Championship. But then if we bounce back, we're back in the same situation under the same owners, recruiting the same ridiculous managers. I don't think there's really any way we can get out of this situation. I can't see a way where the philosophy at the club changes in regards to player recruitment and managerial recruitment. I can't see any way. I can't see any way it changes unless the people in charge of the club change. I'm not necessarily saying that we should change the ownership. What I am saying is, if they don't want the fans to get to that stage where there's protests and there's people calling for the change of ownership, they need to change their way of working. They need to change the way they look to recruit managers. They need to change the way they look to scout players and bring players in. We need to build around the manager for several years who has a good attacking philosophy, because I think that's what Watford fans want. We all want a philosophy at the club where if someone says to me in the street, how do Watford play? I don't want to say to them, well, we play with 2 banks of 4, we sit back, we give the opposition 80% possession. I don't want to say that. I want to say we're Watford, we attack, we always look to get the first goal in games, we look to hold the ball, we look to develop young players. That's what I want from Watford. And ultimately, we don't have that at the moment. We've not had that, since the Possos have come in, really. Yes, we've had success. That success has ultimately come at a price, though. The price has been having 16, 17 managers in 10 years. And yes, it was fun going to the FA Cup final. Yes, it was fun having 5 years in the Premier League. But I want to stay at that level. Brighton yesterday showed all of the Watford fans, they showed the Watford owners exactly what a well-run football club can do. Even looking at Burnley and Sean Dyche, financially they're stable. Watford aren't stable financially at all. The amount of loans we have that we have to pay off is ridiculous. So Burnley, Brentford, Brighton, all stable financially. Brentford, Brighton, Burnley have all stuck with their manager through tough times. And yes, Burnley might get relegated, but I guarantee you, even if they get relegated, they'll do everything in their power to stick with Sean Dyche. And you look at Watford this season, at the first sign of panic, sack Xisco, bring Ranieri in, experienced. Right, let's build a team around Ranieri. As soon as the first, bad period hits, let's sack Ranieri, bring Roy Hodgson in. He plays awful football. And I guarantee you, I honestly think if Roy Hodgson, let's say Hodgson loses the next 6 games, I reckon they'll make another change, because what have they got to lose? Because they've already effed up the season as it is. So actually, they have nothing to lose really whatsoever. I'm just baffled. I'm disgusted at the ownership. I'm disgusted at the tactics Roy Hodgson put out yesterday. I'm disgusted at the performances the players put out as well, because there's several players in that team who I will name now, actually, because I think they deserve to be named, who, quite frankly, obviously now don't want to be at the club. When the first sign of trouble hits, they seem to have down tools. I'm talking about Joshua King specifically. I think he's been dreadful. I don't know why he keeps getting selected. I think Emmanuel Dennis, ever since Watford refused to send him to Nigeria, has been dreadful. I think Musa Sissoko, even in recent weeks, has been really, really poor. Kuchka, for me, offers nothing. Cleverly is not a Premier League player anymore, and that's not down to him. That's just down to the progression of a player getting into the latter stages of his career. I think a major clear out's needed, but there is young promising, talented players at the club. We've got Cucho Hernandez, João Pedro, Jeremy Ngakia, Pontus Dalberg, Kamara. Hopefully, should stay next season. Imran Louza should probably stay as well. Cucho. We've got Asperilla coming in from South America. I think there's enough there to build on next season and to develop a young squad. I just think, it's gone wrong. It's all gone wrong. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say anymore, really. I don't know why you guys are even bothering to watch me today, because I'm just having a bit of a rant. We've got Aston Villa next, away from home. What do I expect from Aston Villa? I expect them to win the game quite comfortably. If Brighton can come to us yesterday and have 75-80% possession in that first half, I expect Aston Villa to do exactly the same. And Aston Villa have better players. They've got Coutinho, Jacob Ramsey, Ollie Watkins, Danny Ings, Buendia, Emi Martinez. They've got a ridiculous squad. And ultimately, I don't think that Watford deserve to be in the Premier League anymore. I don't think we are a Premier League team. I don't think we don't belong in a division. It's as simple as that. We don't belong in this division. And until the club changes its structure and the way it runs, Brentford. I think for me, Brentford is the team you have to look at, because before the season, Brentford were never. I don't think Brentford had ever been in the top division, or they've never been in the Premier League since it started. And over time, slowly, they had a philosophy. They built on that philosophy. They went up the leagues. They won the championship. Or they didn't win the championship. They come up with Watford. And they've just got a philosophy. They stick with their philosophy regardless of what happens. They stick with the philosophy. They stick with the manager. Even Norwich did that with Daniel Farke. They were crap. Norwich were crap for ages, but they still stuck with Daniel Farke because they believed in what he was trying to build and the philosophy that he had. Whereas at Watford, everything is wrong. Literally everything is wrong. The actual managers we bring in, half the time, they're just not a good fit for the club. Then the ownership buy players for the manager, but they don't really buy players for the manager, because look at Samuel Kalou at Watford right now. A new signing coming in from Ligue 1 in France, a winger. He's been here for a few weeks now. He's not even played a single minute of Premier League football. What was the point in bringing him into the club? Like, literally, some of the decisions at Watford baffle me. Danny Rose, baffling decision. Dan Gosling's not even registered to play in the Premier League. That's baffling. Ashley Fletcher wasn't even on the bench yesterday. And these are all players on big wages, long-term contracts that Watford have now committed themselves to. I don't know. I don't know what to say anymore. I'm going to stop the stream here, because I think if I carry on, I'll say something I don't regret. Just know I'm just as angry as the rest of you guys are. I really am pissed off at the way the club's operating at the moment. Of course, I'll be back every week, as I am, to discuss Watford and do match previews, match reactions, etc., etc. I might do a video in a week, actually, discussing Roy Hodgson and what I've seen from him so far. But just know I'm not happy. And if it gets to a stage where I have to speak out against Gino and the ownership, I will do that, because I think us fans deserve that, and we deserve to know why Gino, Scott Duxbury, Cristiano Giulietta, we deserve to know why they make the decisions they do. So thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I'm glad that it's not just me suffering as a Watford fan. There's thousands and thousands of other people suffering along with me. But ultimately, as fans, there's not a lot we can do to change the current situation. I think we just have to wait until the end of the season, see what happens. I presume at the end of the season we'll get some sort of statement from the club saying, "Oh, it's such a shame we were relegated. We'll build again. We'll be back, better than ever next season." But it's just not good enough. And hopefully, hopefully, me doing this video, hopefully, other fan channels will make videos about the current situation, and hopefully we can get some sort of communication from the club, whether that be a statement, whether that be a fan forum, whether that be a live stream on Hive Live, where us as supporters can ask questions directly to the club. I think there has to be some questions asked, and there has to be some answers given from the club. So thank you very much for watching. I do have a little bit of a cold, so apologise if I do sound a bit bunged up, but I've powered through to give you my thoughts on the game and my thoughts on the club at the moment. So as always, really do appreciate you watching. We'll be back at some point next week to discuss the Aston Villa away game, which I'm now very petrified about because Brighton dominated us, and I'm sure Aston Villa will probably do the same. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all very, very soon.